In ordinary software, safety is mostly about correctness. The system does what it was built to do, and a defect is a deviation from that. Once a system acts on its own inside the enterprise, that definition is too narrow. An autonomous agent can be running exactly as built, producing accurate outputs, and still be unsafe because safety now turns on what the agent does with the authority it has been given, not only on whether each output is right. A dependable agent that can move money, change a record, or commit the enterprise to an action is a different kind of object from one that only drafts a suggestion. At this level, safety is about retained control over an actor, not the quality of a tool. By the end of this module, you will be able to bound, defend, and stop an autonomous agent and tell real human oversight from the kind that only looks like it. It helps to be exact about what unsafe means for a system that acts, because plain error is only its most visible form. An agent can be unsafe by taking misaligned action, pursuing the objective it was set in a way the enterprise never intended, faithful to the instruction and wrong against the purpose behind it. It can be unsafe through excessive authority, acting beyond the scope it should hold even when the aim is legitimate. It can drift, its behavior shifting over time with no internal change anyone announced. It can escalate without approval, taking a step that should have needed a higher authority or a person. And in the case that matters most, it can take an action no accountable person can justify afterwards, one that may even turn out correct, but that no one in the institution can explain or stand behind. Take our example. At Mithras Bank, the payments investigation agents can hold a transaction, request documents, release funds once the evidence clears, and draft the reply to the customer. An agent that releases a clean payment is simply doing its work. An agent that releases a payment it should have held because a manipulated document met the evidence standard it was allowed to rely on has not malfunctioned in the ordinary sense. It followed the path open to it. The action still failed the bank because the bank cannot defend it. The failure was not in the answer the agent produced, but in the authority, the evidence threshold, and the control boundary that let that answer become an action. So safety here is usually called alignment, and for an enterprise the useful meaning is narrow. An agent is aligned when its behavior stays inside the intent of the institution that deployed it across the full range of situations it will actually meet, including the many no one wrote a rule for. And capability widens the gap. The more an agent can do without pausing to ask, the more its small misreadings of intent compound into action before anyone sees them. That is why autonomy has to be granted as a bounded condition, not taken on trust. Once autonomy is a bounded condition, the practical question follows: what draws the boundary and who holds the power to enforce it while the system runs? Control of an autonomous agent is not a single switch. It is three things: the authority the agent actually carries, written as the actions it may take on its own; a ceiling on value, the action types it may and may not perform; a line between the reversible and the irreversible, and which decisions it must refer to a person. An enterprise that has not written this down has not bounded the agent. It has only hoped it stays where it is wanted. Second, one governed surface where those limits live and can be changed, with a clear rule for who may change them and a record when they do. Limits scattered across separate teams, configuration files, and prompts are not control. They are the appearance of control, and they fail at the moment they are needed because no one is certain which setting actually governs the behavior. The hardest element of control is not technical. When an agent is useful, fast, and wrong, the power to halt it has to rest with someone who holds Both the authority and the standing to act settle before the moment arrives. An agent that is wrong and slow is easy to stop. An agent that is wrong and useless is switched off without debate. The dangerous case is the agent that is mostly right, heavily relied upon, and faster than the work it replaced because the cost of stopping it is felt immediately by a specific team, while the cost of letting it run is spread thin and arrives later. Control is the standing ability to override that pull. It also helps to keep three powers distinct. Stopping an agent halts the next action. Containing it limits how far the actions already in motion can reach. Recovering undoes or corrects what was already done. A regime that can stop but cannot contain or recover is only partly in control. In our example, Mithras Bank sets a value ceiling above which a release cannot proceed without a person and places the authority to suspend the release agent with the operations risk owner, not the team that runs it. The point is not the particular threshold, it is that the limit where it is set and who can enforce it are named in advance. So, control does not have to be invented in the minutes when an agent is busy doing the wrong thing well. This assumes the pressure comes from inside the system. Load, error, drift, a limit set too loosely. It does not yet assume someone outside is trying to make the agent act against the enterprise on purpose. That is a different exposure, and it is where we go next.